Hello and welcome back. Like community, diversity is a term that everyone uses but few can define. In this unit, we consider who is a member of a community and what it makes a community to be diverse. Alright, let's go here. Besides knowing the geographic boundaries of a community, the other important way that we define community is by who is a member. But most importantly, we need to understand that the communities are not stagnant. The community you live in today probably doesn't look the same as it did 30 years ago. As you study your community in this class, remember that this is simply a snapshot in time. In 10 years, when you return from your college education or for your college reunion, some things in the Huntsville community will be the same, others will have changed. This week, we look at who is in our community and what are their demographic traits, and we ask if some groups are visible while others take central stage. Our society and our communities are full of what we call social groups. Each of us belongs to a number of different social groups. Quite simply, a social group is a group of people who share a range of physical, cultural, or social characteristics within a social identity. Examples of social identity include sex, age, gender, ethnicity, race, sexual orientation, class, and religion. Social groupings occur based on age. For example, seniors would be a social group. Toddlers, millennials, of course, are a social group that the media can't stop complaining about. So, take a moment to, as you go back through the list, to consider the many ways that we divide ourselves into distinct social groups. Also, consider the many different social groupings that you belong to. You will notice that most of these are social groups you're born into. Others might be the ones that you develop or achieve later in life. It's important to distinguish between what we call ascribed and achieved social group identities. An ascribed status or social group is one that we are born into and have kind of little or no control over. Examples of these are race or ethnicity, your parents' religion, or your parents' social class, your biological relationships, if you are the middle child, or the eldest, or an only child. An achieved status, on the other hand, is a status or group that you obtain after birth, but don't let that name fool you. These aren't about necessarily personal successes or achievement. It simply means that these are groups that you grow into as an independent social being, and that they're not necessarily dependent on your parents. Examples of a group of achieved groups includes college graduate engineers, musicians, homeless people, incarcerated people. So to get a full picture of our communities, we want to pay close attention to both achieved and ascribed social groups in our spaces. In your first community research activity, you will be asked to look up data on different social groups in your community. You will compile a few numbers and try to paint a portrait of your community, making what we call a demographic profile of your community. It is a bit like pointillism. The image here is of a tree, but rather than long bush strokes to mimic the shape of the branch or leaves, the artist has used a series of dots. This artistic style is called pointillism. Gathering data about social groupings in your community is like painting a portrait in pointillism. For each data point you collect, you add another dot to the picture. Eventually, you'll step back, look at all the dots together, and you can see an entire community. So for your homework, you'll go to the US Census website and collect a few points of data on your community. It won't provide a full picture, but it'll give you a pretty good sketch. This process of studying a community's population is called demography. Demography is the study of human populations. It looks at the composition of your community, who is here and in what numbers, and it also looks at how your community's population has changed over time. You will notice the demographic data is often centered on different social groups. How many people of the female social groups are in your community? How many people of the immigrant social groups are in your community? And so on and so forth. So we want to know who is in our community and we want to know which groups are in our community. But what is it that makes a community diverse? Definitions of diversity generally include three components: difference, respect, and inclusion. The idea being that we acknowledge and accept that we are all different. We respect those differences and we see the value in including people of different social groups and identities. A diverse community then is one where different social groups share the same space, where those differences are respected, and when people of all social groups are included in the civic life of a community. But as you will read in the assigned piece this week, some diversities, some social group statuses are invisible. We can't see them. They are difficult to measure even in the US Census. The author wrote an essay that you will read about being a student at UCLA. She writes about what it was like to be a student while also being an undocumented person. That meant she was an immigrant to the United States but didn't have legal permission to be here, so she could have been deported at any time for no reason other than simply being in the United States. As you look around your community, consider the social groups that are hard to see. Those don't have obvious traits that didn't walk around. So, like Valdez didn't walk around the campus saying that she is undocumented immigrant. So, think about who in your community might not feel seen as respected and included. Another possible invisible diversity is when groups are made invisible in leadership positions. When all the community leaders come from a narrow set of social groups. Therefore, it is important to have community leaders, both elected and informal, that reflect the diversity of the population.